As you guys know, it's part of the news cycle. A big portion of it that's been trending on Twitter, that's been trending everywhere, is the resolution to the January 6th Commission, which is basically an investigative squad, a bipartisan effort to figure out exactly what happened that day, how it came to be, and the fallout. An investigation. When it's headed by the Senate or the House, it's considered a commission. When it's headed by the FBI or any other group or agency, it's known as an investigation. Sadly, the Republicans decided to LOL, no, we're not doing that. So let's see the conversation around the filibuster as it was a couple months ago versus to where we got now.
Pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, we should keep marching to make it even better by making sure every American is automatically registered to vote, including former inmates who've earned their second chance. By adding polling places and expanding early voting and making Election Day a national holiday. So if you are somebody who's working in a factory, or you're a single mom who's got to go to her job and doesn't get time off, you can still cast your ballot by guaranteeing that every American citizen has equal representation in our government, including the American citizens who live in Washington, D.C. and in Puerto Rico. They're Americans.
Yeah, we really annexed and created other like places on Earth for America's like thread to continue outwards, and we don't even treat half those people as like fucking citizens. I can't believe I was seeing posts like, why are people in Puerto Rico complaining about stimulus checks? Why don't you get it from your government? And it's like, bro, we are that government.
By ending some of the partisan gerrymandering so that all voters have the power to choose their politicians, not the other way around. And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
He said it. He said it. Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans blocked the investigation of January 6th insurrection. Whether your take on it or not, all I'm going to say is this to make it real easy, because we could go through, matter of fact, so then Senator, before I give you my take, because I just fucked that, choosing to put politics, Senator Joe Manchin, which is known as the moderate Democrat, also known as the guy who will literally vote with the Republicans if given the chance, choosing to put politics and political elections above the health of our democracy is unconscionable, and the betrayal of the oath we each take is something they will have to live with. My statement on a January 6th commission vote.
Before January the 6th, 2021, an attack on Congress and democracy at our Capitol at the hands of our own citizens was unimaginable. In the 240 plus years of our great nation's history, we have never seen an attack of this nature. Not even during our nation's horrific Civil War did this happen. This was our chance to have a bipartisan commission that would allow for an impartial investigation into the events of that horrific day so that we are better able to prevent another attack on our nation. Let me be clear. Democratic leadership in both the House and the Senate accepted the proposed changes from Republicans because a commission of this nature must be bipartisan to be successful. This commission passed the House with a bipartisan vote. The failed vote in the Senate had 6 brave Republicans, but that was 4 short of the 10 necessary to advance the legislation. Choosing to put politics and political election above the health of our democracy is unconscionable. And the betrayal of the oath that we each take is something they will have to live with. To the brave Capitol police officers who risk their lives every single day to keep us safe, the Capitol and congressional staff that work around the clock to keep Congress running, even the reporters who work hard to deliver congressional news to the American people, and every American who watched in horror as our Capitol was attacked on January the 6th, you deserve better. And I am sorry that my Republican colleagues and friends let political fear prevent them from doing what they know in their hearts to be right.
That's a super hollow statement, considering he's half the reason why the filibuster still exists. See what I mean? It's like it's to the point where when you want to talk about politicians, you really got to talk about double-sided shit. And I think that's where, honestly, a lot of the issues come on a social level. Not gonna lie. When you talk for politics with your friends, if you talk politics with your friends, you generally end up in a conversation about like human rights, don't you? You're getting that. You're starting to notice that trend more often, right? The wants of a certain group of people versus the actual feasibility of putting that into whatever thought you have. And since the conversation around politics is generally around social issues, it gets very muddied because it's like, well, yeah, I would want that too, but the group that represents that is doing all that, and the Democrats are taking, and it's just this back and forth that's just so nauseating. So what do we do? What's our solution? How do we make this better? How do we avoid situations like this? Well, one, which is going to lead me into the point of what I had already. Like, go into your office and do something about it. Oh, man. It's just Benghazi. Remember Benghazi? The whole thing, like, they still talk about Hillary's emails to this day and want to investigate. Your man's Donald Trump literally said out loud, yo, this is whatever I'm doing in my term or whatever is not that big a deal. Can we focus on getting the corrupt Joe Bidens and the Clintons out of there? And then it spawned the whole QAnon thing about the Clintons and babies and adrenochrome and all that stuff. Double standards are easy to point out. When they become so blatantly obvious, it is amazing to me that, and I saw somebody have the Palmer report had a take on this where it was like, if you don't understand the political game here, then you're going to see the blocking of the commission as a loss for the Democrats when it's actually a big win. I guess I could understand that in the realm of like, if you really think about it, any human being who is accused of something, and this is a trend with Republicans will ignore what's going on or pretend it's not happening, and or what about in that direction. When Donald Trump was getting the Ukraine thing, the whole quid pro quo, the whole 2 impeachments, the whole Senate, all of that, it was all about other rules, other things. We went to the wire with the Benghazi investigations. We went down to the wire on, and you remember, it was in the news and everything. 4 people died. 4. We have not solidified, well, we did, but then Trump pardoned everybody. We have not solidified any wrongdoings from this last administration, and it has now leaked into the current administration, because as much as Joe Biden is just nauseating to also talk about, we do have to remind ourselves that the people left over from the last administration, as far as who got into Congress, who had the loudest voice, who's in the Senate, they're all still affected by the Trump effect. So it's not over. It's just not over. It's not even remotely over. And this is an exact cause of it. We knew that this was coming. We knew that this was going to happen. And it's like, I don't know. Like, we should investigate Hunter Biden. Wasn't there a group of people who were all like, oh, but Antifa was there. They were clearly agitating, posing as Trump supporters. Remember the flyers that they were handing out? Remember the flyer that was circulating on the internet where it was like, Antifa had planned to incite the insurrection to make Trump look bad. Go do an investigation into that. There were people on the Senate floor and the House floor who also corroborated that story, that theory, that Antifa had something to do with it. It was Black Lives Matter at the rally. Barely any Trump, like all this other stuff. And that it was like at the end of the day, it is clearly the Republicans who said it wasn't that bad of a day. You know how many people have said this online already, like, and how many senators and Congress people have said it. It was a tourist attraction. It was a this, it was a that. Now you have a possibility of investigating that in a bipartisan way to prove that the mainstream media is lying and the Republicans have been right all along. And yet somehow, if you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, hit me with a comment. Explain to me how that makes sense logically. I'm handing you the keys to the car. I'm handing you the keys. I'm handing you the manual to the engine. You can figure out what's wrong with it on your own. You went into the dealership and were like, my kid poured milk down my engine. The guys at the engine say, we need to do an investigation into it. We need to like look into it. Nah, I'd rather not. Well, here's the manual. Can you show us where you poured it? Nah, I'd rather not. So how do we know your kid really poured milk down the engine if you don't tell us? Like if you don't want us to look at it, it's no problem. But my kid did do it. But I'd rather not try to prove that. So how do we know that milk is causing the issues with your engine? It's just fucked up. I'll just get a new. See, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like I'm watching America spiral on its axis right now because it can't find a common place to like move forward. And I don't know what comes of that. I don't know political science that hard for me to be able to justify a conclusion that isn't, holy shit, Republicans are just complicit. That's it, complicit. If that crowd had been a Joe Biden crowd, investigation. They want, why don't we take a look into the $2 billion in property damage that BLM and Antifa caused over the riots of 2020? Okay, if you want that one, then why don't you want another one? It's like the investigation would prove that Trump didn't incite it, that it wasn't really Trump supporters there, that it wasn't as bad, it was just a tourist day, all that shit. So if you say no, knowing that it could help your case, then clearly, there's something about it to which you aspire to either want it to happen again or want to absolve all guilt and connection to it, which makes me feel like you're complicit. That's like, and I'm sorry to bring this up in the form of conversational way that I'm doing it, but that's like if somebody were to accuse me of assault and they're like, well, we need to do an investigation into it. And the person that's accusing me of assault is like, nah. Sorry, no, I messed that up. You get what I'm saying. I'm trying to make too many allegories because it's just... Okay, I'll end the segment like this. I'll end it like this. The reason why I'm trying to find so many ways to explain this in one way or another as opposed to just going with the obvious is because the obvious doesn't seem to be hurting them as much. That's a problem. Because you're reading a book and you're disagreeing with the plot of the book, even though the words on the book don't change. So I'm trying to find different new, like, inventive ways of explaining this. So maybe it'll sink in deeper to like people who are still on the whole, it was Antifa. Like, I have friends of mine who were like that. Like, oh, it was Antifa. So why is the people you cap for blocking the thing that would prove it was Antifa? Help me figure that out.